Too big to just sit on it, the rancher said calmly, moments before she saw what was beneath her. Dust swirled lazily around her boots as she guided the last of her herd toward the temporary corral. Herding had never been easy, but out here on the outer rim of human-settled space, it was a way of life. A life of patience, hard work, and learning to read the land. The plain stretched endlessly, broken only by occasional jagged rocks and small patches of alien grass that shimmered silver in the sunlight. It was beautiful but isolated. Communication with the nearest settlement was slow, sometimes delayed by hours. And out here, one mistake could cost more than just money, it could cost life. Her eyes caught movement in the distance. At first, she thought it was a shadow from the uneven terrain. But no, it was something large, far larger than any animal she had ever seen. It rose from the plains like a hill, but its shape was oddly regular, almost unnatural. Her heart skipped a beat. Too big to just sit on it, came a calm voice behind her. Raina turned to see Hale, her neighbor, leaning against his hovering transport. The old man had seen more seasons than most people in the colonies, and he had a habit of speaking in riddles. But there was no malice in his words, only that calm, knowing tone of someone who had lived a long time in a dangerous place. "Sit on it," Raina repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Hale, are you joking? That's not a hill, that's something else entirely. I don't even know what it is." Hale shrugged, his weathered face calm as the plains around them. "It doesn't matter what you think it is. Too big to move, too stubborn, just sit. See what happens." Raina frowned, debating whether he was serious. She had known Hale for years, he rarely ever joked. The air was heavy with dust and the quiet hum of the plains. The herd had settled, munching on the sparse silver grass, their genetically enhanced forms shining in the sunlight. Curiosity won. She walked toward the mound, boots crunching against the dry, red soil. As she drew closer, the sheer scale of it became clear. It was massive, bigger than any human-made structure she had seen. Her heart pounded, a mix of fear and fascination. There was something almost alive about the way the surface seemed to shimmer faintly, as if it were breathing. Hale followed at a distance, his arms crossed, a small smile playing on his lips. "Careful," he said. "It's patient, but it notices." "Notices what?" she asked, her voice tight. "Everything." He didn't elaborate, that was typical of Hale. He never explained much, letting experience speak for itself. Raina reached the top of the mound, or what she assumed was the top. The ground under her boots felt different. Unlike the rough plains, it was smooth, almost metallic in places. A faint vibration pulsed beneath her feet like a heartbeat. She froze, listening. Her instincts screamed to step back, but the curiosity that had brought humanity to the stars refused to let her retreat. She bent down, brushing away some of the dust with her gloved hand. Beneath the surface, she glimpsed something strange, a line of symbols etched into the material. They glowed faintly as though responding to her presence. "Raina," Hale's voice was closer now. "Don't touch too much. Let it see you." "What do you mean, see me?" she whispered. Hale didn't answer. He simply leaned against the edge, watching her. The vibration beneath her feet grew stronger. It wasn't random, it had a rhythm, almost like it was communicating. Her pulse matched it without her realizing. Her mind raced with questions. What was this? Where did it come from? How had something this big ended up buried in the plains of Kepler 78b? And then, the ground shifted slightly under her weight. Raina stumbled but caught herself on the smooth surface. A low hum filled the air, rising and falling in a strange melody. The light in the etched symbols pulsed brighter, flickering like a heartbeat. She felt an odd warmth in her chest, as though the mound, whatever it was, acknowledged her presence. Hale's calm voice broke the moment. "I've seen it before." "Not like this, but," he trailed off, shaking his head. "Most folks wouldn't believe me. It waits, patient. You're lucky to be the first human it's sensed in centuries." "Waited for centuries," Raina's voice trembled. She stepped back, trying to measure the enormity of what she was seeing. It was no natural formation, Not by any stretch of the imagination. You humans always think you understand everything, Hale said quietly. But sometimes the universe just waits. And you've got that stubborn curiosity it likes. Raina laughed nervously, the sound swallowed by the vast plains. Stubborn curiosity, she repeated. I'm starting to think I don't want to know what it is. It's too big, too alive. Maybe you were right. Just sit and see what happens. She lowered herself carefully onto the mound, letting her hands rest on the smooth surface. The hum intensified, wrapping around her like a gentle embrace. It was not threatening, but it was overwhelming, as if the mound could read her thoughts and feelings. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time felt strange here, suspended by the alien presence beneath her. Her mind wandered to the colonists in the settlement, the scientists, the explorers who would pay a fortune to see this. But she was alone. It was just her, Hale, and whatever this was. Then, without warning, a faint shimmer appeared on the surface ahead. The mound shifted and a crack formed along what appeared to be a seam. Light spilled from the fissure, blinding in its intensity. Raina's breath caught in her throat. This was no hill. This was a structure, something hidden for eons, now revealing itself to her. Hale's voice was calm as ever. Told you, just sit and see. The crack widened, revealing a smooth metallic interior. Patterns of light crawled across the surface, like veins of energy pulsing with a rhythm that matched the hum she felt in her chest. Her heart raced, but she didn't move. She couldn't. Every instinct in her body screamed at her to run, yet something deeper, a human trait that had carried her ancestors through uncharted lands, through space, through danger, held her in place. A section of the surface shifted, like a doorway opening. A rush of cool air swept over her, carrying with it a scent unlike anything she had ever known, metallic ozone and something alive. She felt a tingle in her fingers, a spark that traveled through her body, awakening something primal. Hale's hand rested lightly on her shoulder. "It's okay," he said. "It doesn't mean harm, it's just curious, like you." Raina took a deep breath. Her hands hovered over the glowing symbols. For a brief, terrifying moment, she felt the mound look back at her, almost like it was weighing her worth. And then, as if satisfied, the light pulsed brighter and retreated into the depths of the structure. The hum softened. She exhaled slowly, letting the moment sink in. Humanity had faced countless challenges across the stars, but this was unlike anything she had imagined. Something older, larger, and infinitely more mysterious than any of the colonies she had ever known. Hale's voice broke the silence again. "You've got the patience, the curiosity, don't lose it, that's what they respect." Raina nodded, her mind already spinning with questions. Who made this? Why was it here? And most importantly, what would happen next? For now, all she could do was sit, wait, watch, and let humanity's courage guide her into the unknown. The plains were quiet again, but beneath her the mound's heartbeat continued, patient, curious, alive. And Reina Cortez, human, rancher, explorer, was ready. Reina had not slept that night. Even in the safety of her small settlement quarters, her mind raced with thoughts of the mound. She could still feel the subtle vibrations in her chest, the faint pulse of energy that had come from beneath the alien surface. Every instinct in her human body screamed at her to return, to discover what had lain hidden for centuries. By dawn, she was back on the plains, Hale trailing behind her as usual. The herd moved quietly behind them, sensing the tension in the air. The mound loomed in the distance, its surface smooth and reflective in the pale light of morning. Nothing had changed, yet everything had. "You ready?" Hale asked, voice low and calm. Raina nodded. "I have to know what's down there, I have to see." Hale sighed, adjusting the strap of his satchel. "Then go, but don't rush it, it doesn't like hurry." Patience is a human trait, yes, but too much impatience will make it withdraw. She approached the mound slowly, boots sinking slightly into the soft dust at its base. The metallic surface shimmered again, faint lines of light running across it like veins of energy. Raina's fingers itched to touch it, to feel it again. She placed her hand on the surface, and immediately the familiar vibration pulsed beneath her palm. The ground shivered slightly, and the faint seam she had seen the day before widened. A cool breeze escaped from the opening, carrying the same metallic ozone scent she had felt before. Raina's heart pounded in her chest. Hale stayed back, giving her space, his eyes scanning the horizon for any signs of danger. "It won't hurt you," he murmured. "It just wants to know." Raina hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath. With careful steps, she climbed into the opening. The air inside was cool, almost sterile, and the hum of energy surrounded her like a living presence. The walls of the chamber glowed faintly, etched with strange symbols that pulsed in time with the vibrations beneath her feet. "Look at this," she whispered, stepping closer to the nearest wall. Her gloved hand traced the patterns, feeling warmth where the symbols glowed brighter. Some shapes seemed familiar, almost like maps, while others were completely alien. Her mind raced to decipher them, but they weren't letters, numbers, or any language she had learned. They were something else, something alive. Then a soft click echoed through the chamber. The floor beneath her shifted slightly, revealing a stairway descending into darkness. A rush of cold air escaped from below, carrying with it a faint electric smell. Raina froze. The mound wasn't just a structure, it was a vessel, buried deep beneath the plains, waiting to be awakened. Hale's voice came from above. "Careful, Raina, every step matters. Let it guide you, don't force it." Raina nodded, her hand brushing against the glowing walls for guidance. She stepped carefully onto the first stair, then the next. The vibration beneath her grew stronger, like a heartbeat becoming faster, more insistent. She felt watched. But it was not fear, it was curiosity. As she descended, she noticed more details. The walls were smooth, metallic, and impossibly large. Tiny symbols lit up ahead of her steps, almost as if the mound was responding to her presence, welcoming her deeper into its core. The air hummed with energy, vibrating in her chest, reminding her that she was small, yet important. The stairway opened into a vast chamber. Raina's eyes widened. The room was enormous, bigger than any human-made hall she had ever seen, and it stretched into darkness that seemed endless. Massive structures of unknown material lined the walls, pulsing softly with light. The air shimmered, as though reality itself was bending slightly to the vessel's will. At the center of the chamber was a large console, smooth and black, with more glowing symbols etched across its surface. Raina approached it cautiously. As she did, the symbols pulsed in response, brighter this time, as if the mound recognized her. Hale's voice echoed faintly from above, though it seemed distant now. "It's not a machine. Not exactly. It's alive in its own way. Treat it with respect." Raina's fingers hovered over the console. The moment she touched it, a wave of information flooded her mind. Visions, emotions, and concepts she could barely comprehend. She saw stars, galaxies, and civilizations long extinct. She saw battles and alliances, maps of uncharted regions of space, and structures that defied human engineering. The vessel had been a silent observer for centuries, recording everything, and now it had awakened. Raina pulled her hand back, gasping. Her mind raced to process what she had seen. This was not just a discovery. It was a library, a guide, a power source beyond anything humanity had ever imagined, and it had chosen her to interact with it. A faint mechanical whir sounded in the chamber, and a section of the wall slid open, revealing a smaller room. Inside was a strange, pod-like structure, its surface covered in the same glowing symbols. The pod seemed to call to her, not with sound but with thought. Raina felt an irresistible urge to approach it. She stepped inside the room cautiously. The pod responded to her presence, the symbols glowing brighter and rearranging themselves in patterns she could understand instinctively. She reached out and touched the pod. Instantly, a vision consumed her senses. She saw herself piloting the vessel across the stars, navigating through wormholes, charting new galaxies. She saw herself standing on planets unknown to humanity, communicating with alien life forms and bringing knowledge back to human colonies. It was exhilarating, terrifying, and awe-inspiring all at once. She realized that this vessel was not just a machine, it was a tool of human potential. Humanity had built colonies, explored planets, and tamed stars, but this could elevate them far beyond. Raina's mind reeled. The possibilities were endless, but so were the dangers. She had no idea if the vessel could be controlled by anyone but her, or if it would even allow her to leave once she activated it fully. The chamber pulsed, almost in response to her thoughts. The vibration beneath her feet was stronger now, like a heartbeat racing. She felt as though the vessel was testing her, measuring her resolve, her courage, and her curiosity. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the mound. Dust fell from the ceiling and the walls vibrated slightly. Raina stumbled but regained her balance. Something had sensed the vessel's awakening, something beyond her understanding. Hale's voice, faint but firm, came to her mind as if carried by the vessel itself. "It has chosen you, Raina. Don't panic. Humans survive where others fail because we adapt, because we endure, because we are curious." Raina took a deep breath, her fear tempered by determination. She had survived harsh planets, deadly storms, and countless dangerous situations in her life. She could face this too. Slowly, she moved deeper into the room, letting the pod guide her. The symbols shifted, forming a doorway into another section of the vessel. As she stepped through, the air changed. The temperature dropped slightly, but she felt no cold, only clarity. A sense of purpose filled her mind. She was no longer just a rancher on an isolated plain. She was the first human to awaken something ancient, vast, and powerful. She reached a central chamber, where a holographic interface floated in the air. The symbols projected themselves in three-dimensional space, creating maps, star charts, and sequences of glowing patterns that seemed to flow like liquid light. Raina studied them carefully, recognizing some star systems from her own maps, but others were entirely new. She realized that the vessel was showing her not only its own records, but also potential routes for exploration, paths through space humanity had never dared to take. The technology was centuries, perhaps millennia ahead of anything humans had built. And yet, it had waited. Waited for someone capable of understanding it. Raina's pulse quickened. She knew what she had to do. Carefully, she began interacting with the holographic controls, following the patterns instinctively. The vessel responded instantly, the lights pulsing brighter, the hum growing in intensity. It was learning from her as much as she was learning from it. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, she could not tell. Time seemed irrelevant inside the living chamber. The vessel was alive, aware, and patient. It tested her patience, her reasoning, and her courage. Each response from her caused it to shift, reveal, and guide. Finally, the central chamber dimmed slightly, as though the vessel had accepted her as its human partner. The symbols settled into a pattern that she could understand completely. A map of the galaxy, with routes highlighted, points of interest marked, and instructions for using the vessel. Raina exhaled slowly, a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration washing over her. Humanity had stumbled upon something incredible, something far beyond their reach before, but now it was theirs to explore. She knew this was only the beginning. The mound, the vessel, and the power within it had awakened with her touch, and the galaxy beyond awaited. Hale's voice sounded again, closer this time. "Welcome, human. You've taken the first step. Now see how far you can go." Raina nodded, her eyes shining with determination. She had always believed that humans could endure, adapt, and explore. Now the proof was right in front of her, and she was ready to take humanity further than they had ever dreamed. The mound hummed beneath her feet, alive and patient. And Reina Cortez, human, rancher, explorer, had taken the first true step into a destiny that would change everything. Raina stepped back from the central holographic interface, her mind still swirling with the knowledge the vessel had revealed. The patterns of light floated gently in the air, forming maps of distant star systems and pulsating with data that seemed alive. For a moment, she felt small, insignificant against the immensity of it all. But that feeling quickly dissolved into a familiar human resolve, curiosity. Humanity had always survived in impossible places, explored unknown lands, and tamed the stars. And now, here she was, standing at the edge of a discovery that could change everything. The chamber vibrated softly beneath her feet, the hum growing louder, almost as if the vessel itself were waking fully. The walls shimmered, and the light from the symbols pulsed in sync with the vibrations, like a heartbeat. She realized then that the vessel was not just a tool, it was alive, aware, and sentient in a way humans could only begin to understand. Hale's calm voice echoed from the entrance of the chamber. "It will test you now. Don't be afraid. Humans endure because we adapt." "You've got that, trust it and trust yourself." Raina nodded. She had no idea what form the test would take, but she trusted Hale's wisdom. Humans had always thrived by observing, thinking, and acting even when the odds seemed impossible. She could do this. A low rumble filled the chamber. Then, without warning, the walls shifted. Panels rose, and the floor beneath her trembled slightly. Light projected from the symbols, forming shapes that floated in the air, shapes of objects she had never seen before, some resembling stars, others like intricate machines. They rotated slowly, pulsing with energy. Raina felt a pull in her mind. It was subtle at first, a whisper of thought she knew was not her own. Solve this. Understand this. Prove your worth. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. The first pattern floated closer, spinning faster, revealing what appeared to be a puzzle of shapes and symbols. Her instincts took over. She reached out, tracing her fingers through the light. The pattern shifted with her movements, responding to her touch, as if the vessel were communicating directly with her. Hours, or what felt like hours, passed as Raina worked through the challenges. Each test was different. Some required logic, some intuition, and some demanded emotional insight. One pattern pulsed with sadness, and she realized she had to match it with compassion, understanding its rhythm before it would settle. Another rotated violently, testing her patience and focus. Slowly, she learned to read the vessel's intent, moving with it rather than against it. The hum beneath her feet grew louder as she progressed, filling the chamber with a resonance that made her feel both powerful and small. She realized that the vessel was learning from her as much as she was learning from it. It responded not only to her actions but to her human qualities, courage, empathy, and curiosity. Suddenly, a new projection appeared, an image of a distant star system she had never seen on any map. Light flowed across it, revealing planets, asteroid belts, and strange structures orbiting in formation. Her pulse quickened. This was a star system beyond human exploration, and the vessel was offering it to her, but with the revelation came a warning. The light dimmed slightly, and a shadow passed over the projection, forming a figure unlike anything Raina had imagined. It was not solid, but a shape of energy and light, moving with purpose. She felt its presence in her mind, probing her thoughts, testing her resolve. "You are human," a voice whispered, not out loud but inside her consciousness. "You survive where others fail, but can you endure what is to come?" Raina squared her shoulders, her heart steady despite the fear creeping in. "I don't know what's ahead," she replied silently, "but humans endure. That's what we do. That's how we survive." The figure shimmered, pausing as though considering her response. Then the projection shifted again. The star system expanded before her eyes, revealing routes through space faster than light, paths through wormholes, and coordinates for planets untouched by humanity. The vessel was offering her not just knowledge, but power, a chance to extend human reach across the galaxy. Raina felt a surge of excitement and responsibility. This was no simple discovery, it was a test of humanity itself. Could humans, small and fragile as they were compared to the vastness of space, take what the universe offered and use it wisely? Could they survive challenges beyond comprehension? Her thoughts were interrupted by another vibration beneath her feet, stronger this time. The walls of the chamber shimmered, and a series of steps emerged from the floor, leading downward into darkness. The vessel was guiding her to a deeper level, a part it had not revealed before. Hale's voice echoed faintly in her mind. Every layer reveals more. Be patient, Raina. Humans thrive because we do not fear the unknown. With careful steps, she descended. The deeper she went, the stronger the vibrations became. Light from the symbols above faded, replaced by a soft glow from beneath. The chamber opened into a cavernous space, vast and silent except for the low hum of energy. At the center stood a massive structure, taller than any building she had ever seen. Its surface was smooth, reflecting light in patterns that seemed almost alive. The symbols on the walls pulsed brighter as she approached, and she realized that this was the core of the vessel, the heart of whatever intelligence lay within it. As she stepped closer, the air thickened with energy, making her chest tighten. Then, without warning, the structure began to move. Sections shifted, rotating in patterns that created openings, revealing interior chambers filled with glowing energy. Raina's eyes widened. The vessel was alive. It was testing her, not with words but with movement and response. Each shift was a challenge, requiring careful observation, quick thinking, and a calm mind. She moved cautiously, analyzing the patterns and timing her steps. The vessel responded instantly, changing the paths, creating new challenges and forcing her to adapt. Her human instincts, sharp, flexible, and resilient, kept her moving forward. She realized then that this was the true test. The vessel wanted to see if humanity, through her, could interact with something beyond comprehension. Minutes felt like hours. The vessel created illusions of hazards, falling debris, shifting floors, walls that seemed to close in, but she remained focused. Humans had survived deserts, storms, and the vacuum of space. This was different, yes, but it required the same qualities: courage, observation, and adaptability. Finally, the central structure paused. The vibrations softened, the glowing symbols dimmed, and the vessel projected an image of a galaxy teeming with possibilities. Raina realized that she had passed the first true test. The vessel recognized her not just as a human, but as a worthy human. A final projection appeared, a vision of herself piloting the vessel, traveling to distant stars, interacting with alien civilizations, and returning knowledge to humanity. The vision was not a command but a promise. If she continued, humans could reach farther, understand more, and survive where others might fail. Raina felt a deep sense of awe. She had entered the vessel alone, unsure of what awaited her. And now she understood that humans, through curiosity, courage, and resilience, had been given a chance to rise beyond their limits. The vessel pulsed once more, softer now, almost like a heartbeat of approval. Raina stepped back, her mind racing with possibilities. She had been tested and she had endured, and humanity, represented by her courage and intelligence, had passed as well. She turned to look at the exit, seeing Hale waiting above. His calm eyes met hers and he nodded once. "You've done well," he said. "This is only the beginning. Humans endure, humans explore, and humans will rise." Raina exhaled, letting the moment sink in. The vessel had awakened, and so had a new destiny for humanity. She realized that every step, every decision, and every moment of courage mattered. This was the essence of being human, the ability to face the unknown, adapt, and thrive. She looked down into the glowing core one last time before ascending the stairs. The vessel hummed softly beneath her, alive and patient, waiting for the next step. And Reina Cortez, human, rancher, and explorer, knew that she was ready. The galaxy awaited. Reina emerged from the vessel's lower chambers, her boots crunching softly on the metallic floor as she ascended the stairway. The hum of the vessel vibrated beneath her feet, a steady rhythm that seemed to match her heartbeat. Every step reminded her that she was no longer just a rancher on Kepler 78b. She was the first human to awaken something ancient, something alive, and something infinitely powerful. Above, Hale waited at the entrance of the mound. His eyes, calm as always, reflected pride and cautious anticipation. "It will test you now," he said simply. "Tests are not always visible. Sometimes they come from what you feel, not what you see." Reina nodded, her mind alert. Humans survived by adapting, by thinking, by using every part of themselves to solve problems. She had passed the vessel's initial challenge, but she knew this was only the beginning. The moment she stepped out of the mound, the sky seemed to shift. The twin suns' light bent strangely, casting unusual shadows across the plains. The herd stirred nervously, lowing softly. Something in the air had changed. A sudden tremor shook the ground beneath them. Dust rose into the air as a low rumble echoed across the plains. Hale grabbed Reina's arm, steadying her. "It's sensing more than just you now. Something has noticed the vessel's awakening." Reina's eyes widened. She had feared this. The galaxy was vast, but it was not empty. Ancient civilizations, long extinct or dormant, had left their marks across the stars. And now, whatever forces remained had been alerted. From the horizon, shadows emerged. At first they were distant, almost invisible against the red plains. But they moved with purpose, sweeping across the land like a tide. Machines. Not like anything humans had built, but alive in their own way. Autonomous, precise, and clearly aware of the vessel. Reina felt a chill, but it was quickly replaced by determination. Humanity had faced threats before, hostile planets, deadly storms, and creatures that defied imagination. This was just another challenge, and humans survived because they adapted. Hale pointed toward the advancing shapes. "They are scouts, intelligent but not infinite in thought. You must act before they reach the mound. The vessel will guide you if you remain calm." Reina focused, placing her hand on the smooth surface of the mound. The symbols pulsed in response, casting bright patterns across the plains. Light shot out in beams, creating barriers or at least illusions of barriers that slowed the approaching machines. The vessel responded to her thoughts, amplifying her intent. One of the machines broke through the illusion. It was larger than she had anticipated, its metallic body gleaming in the sunlight. It scanned the area, sensors glowing with red light, but Reina did not panic. She took a deep breath, remembering Hale's words. "Humans endure because they do not panic. Humans solve. Humans adapt." She stepped closer to the mound, touching the surface with both hands. A new set of symbols appeared, floating in the air like holographic buttons. Instinctively, she began to interact with them. Light shot from her fingers, creating paths of energy that twisted and shifted, guiding the approaching machines away from the vessel. The first machine paused, its sensors flickering as though confused. Then it altered its course, turning slightly and moving in a different direction. Reina realized the vessel was teaching her control, letting her influence the environment without direct violence. This was a test not of strength, but of adaptability and intelligence, a true reflection of human ingenuity. Hours, or what seemed like hours, passed as the machines adjusted to her commands, probing for weaknesses. Each time they advanced, Reina responded, learning the patterns, predicting their movements, and using the vessel's guidance to stay ahead. The plains became a dance of light and shadow, a battle of wits rather than weapons. Finally, the largest machine stopped a few meters from the mound. It extended a long, claw-like appendage, scanning the ground as though assessing her. Reina held her breath, unsure of what would happen next. Then she remembered something Hale had said. Sometimes the test is not what you fight, but what you understand. She closed her eyes and focused, reaching out mentally toward the machine, not with fear, not with anger, but with curiosity. She imagined the world through its sensors, its mechanical mind. She felt the rhythm of its circuits, the pulse of its energy. And slowly she projected something simple, calm, understanding, connection. The machine hesitated, its sensors flickering as if confused. Then it did something unexpected. Its red light softened to a pale blue, and it retreated slightly, bowing its body as though acknowledging her presence. Raina opened her eyes, astonished. She had not destroyed it. She had communicated, using human traits of empathy and intuition where brute force would have failed. Hale's voice sounded above her, calm and proud. You see, humans endure because we adapt. Not everything is a battle to be won by force. Some battles are won by understanding. The other machines began to shift as well, their aggressive movements slowing. They did not leave entirely, but their approach was now measured, hesitant. The vessel's hum deepened, responding to her success. Raina felt a warmth in her chest, a recognition. She had passed another layer of the test, not through strength, but through intellect, intuition, and courage. But the victory was not complete. From the distance, she sensed something larger moving through the plains. The ground trembled again, this time stronger. Dust and debris were thrown into the air as a massive shadow appeared on the horizon. Unlike the scouts, this presence was deliberate, powerful, and ancient. It moved with purpose, heading directly toward the mound. Raina's breath caught. This was no ordinary challenge. The vessel vibrated beneath her feet, reacting to the new threat. It was preparing, but she realized she had to act quickly. Every instinct honed through years of survival, every lesson humanity had learned across the stars, would now be tested. She glanced at Hale, who nodded without speaking. You know what to do, he said. Raina placed both hands on the mound, letting the hum fill her mind. Symbols floated around her, glowing brighter than ever. Light surged from the surface, forming barriers, paths, and illusions to slow the approaching force. The ground shook violently, but she stayed focused, directing the energy with precision. The massive entity reached the mound. It was unlike anything she had seen, towering, metallic, yet fluid in movement as if alive. Sensors glowed like fiery eyes, scanning the area, assessing her. She could feel its intent, sharp and probing, testing her limits. Raina closed her eyes and remembered everything she had learned. Patience, observation, adaptation, understanding. She did not fight it directly. Instead, she guided the vessel to communicate subtly, projecting patterns of light and pulses of energy that mirrored the entity's movements. Slowly, inch by inch, she influenced it, showing that she understood its purpose without aggression. The entity paused, its glowing eyes narrowing. Then, in a movement that surprised her, it lowered itself, bowing slightly in acknowledgement. Raina opened her eyes, astonished. She had faced a challenge far beyond her imagination, and had not destroyed it, had not struck it down, but had earned its respect through human ingenuity, courage, and empathy. Hale exhaled, visibly relaxing. This is why humans endure. We survive not just because we fight, but because we understand, adapt, and persist. You've done well, Raina, very well. The entity retreated slightly, joining the other machines in a respectful distance from the mound. The hum of the vessel softened, and the planes returned to a calm, almost peaceful state. Raina felt a sense of accomplishment, but also a heavy awareness. This was only the beginning. The galaxy held countless challenges, ancient powers, and mysteries that humanity had yet to face. She glanced around at the plains, at the herd grazing quietly, and at Hale's calm, proud expression. Humans had endured here for generations, surviving harsh worlds, dangerous creatures, and the isolation of space. And now, they had proven themselves against something far older, far more powerful than anything humanity had ever encountered. Reyna placed a hand on the vessel once more, feeling its pulse beneath her palm. She realized that it was not just a machine, not just an ancient structure, it was a partner. It had tested her, and through her, it had tested humanity. And humanity had endured. She looked toward the horizon, toward the vastness of the galaxy beyond. Challenges awaited, ancient forces, unexplored worlds, and dangers no human had faced before. But she knew one thing: humans were capable. Humans could endure. Humans could rise to meet the impossible. And Reina Cortez, rancher, explorer, human, would be ready. The vessel hummed gently beneath her hands, alive, patient, and awaiting the next step. And the galaxy beyond was calling. Reina stood at the edge of the mound, the twin suns of Kepler 78 below in the crimson sky. The plains were calm now, but the hum of the vessel beneath her feet reminded her that peace was temporary. She had faced the tests, learned to communicate with the vessel, and earned the respect of the ancient machines. But she knew that the galaxy beyond awaited, vast and full of unknown challenges. Hale stood beside her, his eyes calm yet full of pride. "The next step is yours," he said simply. "The vessel has awakened fully. What you do now will shape humanity's future." Reina's heart raced. This was no longer just about survival or curiosity. This was about humanity's place in the stars. She placed her hands on the smooth, metallic surface of the mound, feeling the pulse of energy beneath her palms. The symbols glowed brighter than ever, forming intricate patterns that stretched across the plains like veins of light. The vessel's hum deepened, filling her mind with a chorus of thought and intent. She felt its awareness, immense and patient, stretching across the galaxy. She realized that this was a living archive, a tool for exploration, and a partner in the journey humanity had always dreamed of, and it had chosen her to guide humanity forward. "Are you ready?" Hale asked. Reina nodded. She had always been ready for challenges, even when she didn't know their true nature. Humans endured, adapted, and solved impossible problems. Now it was time to take the next step. She focused, letting her thoughts merge with the vessel. Light flowed from her hands, forming a path across the plains, leading toward the horizon. The symbols shifted, projecting three-dimensional maps of star systems, wormholes, and planets untouched by humanity. The vessel was offering humanity a chance to expand, to explore, to rise. Suddenly, a ripple of energy swept across the plains. The ancient machines, the scouts and sentinels that had tested her, formed a protective perimeter around the mound. They were not threats anymore. They were allies, recognizing her authority and humanity's worth. Reina realized that this was part of the vessel's final test, to see if humans could earn trust without destruction, if they could lead with intelligence and understanding rather than fear. She reached out to the holographic map projected above the mound. A cluster of star systems glowed, indicating potential routes for exploration. Her fingers traced the paths instinctively, feeling the vessel respond to her touch. The hum beneath her feet grew stronger, and the light from the mound extended outward, forming a shimmering corridor across the plains. Reina stepped forward. The mound shifted beneath her, opening a pathway into its interior. The vessel seemed to guide her movements, as if inviting her to ascend into the unknown. Hale watched quietly, knowing this moment was beyond his guidance. Humans had survived countless challenges because they trusted themselves. Now, Reina was that trust in action. Inside, the vessel revealed its full interior. The walls were alive with flowing light, symbols that shifted like living language, and chambers that seemed to stretch beyond the limits of human perception. At the center, a cockpit-like structure floated, glowing softly with an inviting warmth. Reina approached it carefully, feeling a connection she could not explain. She sat in the cockpit, placing her hands on controls that seemed almost alive. The vessel responded instantly, the lights pulsing faster, projecting a view of the stars beyond. Wormholes shimmered in the distance, Planets rotated in alien beauty and distant galaxies beckoned. Reyna felt a surge of awe. Humans had explored planets, settled colonies, and survived harsh worlds. But this was something entirely different. Hale's voice sounded in her mind, calm and reassuring. Remember, Reyna, humans endure because we adapt, because we understand, and because we face the unknown with courage. You carry all of that now. Reyna exhaled slowly and focused on the maps projected around her. The vessel responded to her intent, plotting a course through a nearby wormhole that would lead humanity into uncharted space. She felt the excitement of discovery, the thrill of exploration, and the weight of responsibility all at once. The vessel began to move, lifting smoothly from the mound. Dust swirled beneath it as it ascended, light streaming from its hull like veins of energy connecting with the planes below. The ancient machines moved alongside, forming a protective formation. Reyna realized that she was not just piloting a vessel. She was leading humanity into the galaxy, guided by ancient wisdom and powered by human courage. As they moved through the atmosphere, Reyna felt the vessel communicate more directly. Symbols flashed, showing distant worlds rich with resources, planets capable of sustaining human life, and anomalies that defied human science. She realized that humanity's potential was far greater than anyone had imagined, and the vessel was ready to help them reach it. A sudden alert flashed across the cockpit. A distant fleet of alien ships appeared, moving toward the mound at incredible speed. They were aware of the vessel's awakening and were coming to investigate. Reyna's pulse quickened, but fear did not take hold. Humans had faced dangers far greater than this, and she had already proven her ability to adapt and overcome. The vessel responded instantly. Energy shields formed around it, pulsing with the same rhythm as the hum beneath her hands. Light shot out in patterns that disrupted the alien sensors, creating illusions that delayed their approach. Reyna guided the vessel with calm precision, anticipating their movements and using the environment to her advantage. The alien ships hesitated, scanning the area, trying to understand the vessel's power. Reyna realized that humanity's strength was not just in technology, but in ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. The aliens had power, yes, but humans had something they could not anticipate: the ability to learn, adapt, and act with creativity under pressure. Reyna focused, letting the vessel extend a communication pulse toward the approaching ships. Symbols and light projected outward, showing not aggression but understanding. Slowly, the alien fleet paused, their ships forming a hesitant formation. They recognized the vessel's awareness and, by extension, Reyna's command. Humans had not attacked, they had communicated. And in that, the vessel and humanity earned respect. The fleet withdrew slightly, leaving the planes and the vessel undisturbed. Reyna exhaled, her mind racing with the realization of what had just occurred. Humanity had not conquered through force, but through intelligence, understanding, and courage. The tests were complete, and the galaxy had acknowledged humanity's place among the stars. Hale's voice sounded again, calm and proud. You have done what few could. You have faced the unknown, adapted, and prevailed. Humanity rises because we endure, and now you carry that forward. Reyna smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. The vessel pulsed beneath her, alive and patient, as if acknowledging her words. She realized that this was not the end, it was a beginning. Humanity had been given a chance to expand, explore, and thrive in ways that had once seemed impossible. She set a course through the wormhole, watching as stars stretched and twisted around them. The planes of Kepler 78b disappeared behind her, but the lessons she had learned here remained. Courage, curiosity, adaptability, and empathy, these were the traits that would carry humanity forward. The vessel guided them smoothly through space, revealing new systems, new worlds, and new possibilities. Reyna's excitement grew with every projection, every glimpse of unexplored planets, and every anomaly that challenged human understanding. She realized that humanity's future was no longer limited by distance, technology, or fear. They had risen, and nothing could stop them now. Hours turned into days as Reyna explored the vessel's capabilities. It could map star systems, predict cosmic events, and communicate across vast distances. Yet it also taught patience, humility, and respect for forces far older and wiser than humans. She understood that this balance, between power and responsibility, between knowledge and respect, was what would define humanity's path forward. Reyna paused, looking out at a distant nebula, its colors vibrant and strange. She thought of the humans who would follow, who would one day venture into these systems, guided by the vessel she had awakened. She felt pride, not just for herself, but for all of humanity. Hale's voice came again, softer this time. Remember, Reyna, humans endure because we never stop, we never give up. We explore, adapt, and rise. And now the universe will witness it too. Reyna nodded. She had faced the vessel's tests, communicated with ancient machines, and overcome threats that had tested every skill she possessed. Humanity had endured, and now they were ready to rise. She guided the vessel toward the first uncharted star system, knowing this was the first of many journeys. The twin suns of Kepler 78b were a distant memory as the stars stretched out before her. The vessel hummed beneath her, alive, patient, and ready to lead humanity into a future of discovery and adventure. Reyna smiled, feeling the pulse of energy, the rhythm of the vessel, and the limitless potential of her people. She was no longer just a rancher. She was an explorer, a pioneer, a representative of humanity's courage and ingenuity. And as the vessel moved through the galaxy, Reyna Cortez realized that humans were destined to rise, to endure, to explore, and to thrive among the stars. The galaxy awaited, vast and full of mysteries, and humanity, guided by courage, curiosity, and intelligence, would meet it head-on. The vessel pulsed once more, a heartbeat in sync with Reyna's. Humanity had ascended.